Hello everyone, and welcome to my CBS YNR Full Today channel. Please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. The battle for Chancellor has reached a breaking point, and Billy Abbott may finally be done playing defense. In Genoa City, business rivalries rarely stay inside the boardroom, but this time the conflict between Billy and Kane Ashby appears ready to cross a line neither man can easily walk back from. Billy has spent far too long watching Chancellor Industries slip away from the future he believed belonged to his family, and now his anger is boiling over. Kane, meanwhile, seems determined to prove that he has every right to make his own moves and reshape the company according to his vision. That combination creates exactly the kind of explosive confrontation that can turn a corporate dispute into something deeply personal. The question is no longer simply who controls Chancellor. The real question is what each man is willing to risk to win. Billy's frustration has been building for a long time, and that matters because this confrontation does not feel like an isolated argument. To Billy, Chancellor represents more than stock certificates, executive offices, and corporate strategy. It represents history, family, identity, and the legacy that has followed the Abbott family for years. Losing control of something so closely connected to his family's name is not something Billy can simply accept with a shrug. He may tell himself that he is fighting for the company, but underneath that argument is a much more emotional struggle. Billy wants to feel that his voice still matters. He wants to believe that the Abbott legacy cannot simply be rewritten by another powerful player. And when Kane steps into that picture, Billy sees a direct challenge to everything he has been trying to protect. That is why the words "Give me back Chancellor" carry so much weight. It is not merely a demand over a corporation. It is Billy demanding recognition. He wants Kane to understand that this fight has consequences far beyond a business transaction. Billy believes something has been taken from him, and whether Kane agrees with that interpretation or not, the emotional damage is already done. Once a person feels that his family legacy has been threatened, rational negotiation becomes much harder. Billy's anger could therefore become his greatest weapon or his greatest weakness. Kane is not exactly the kind of man who will step aside simply because Billy is furious. That is another reason this showdown has so much potential. Kane has always been capable of remaining calm when someone else becomes emotional. He can listen, calculate, and wait for the right moment to make his move. But Billy's anger could force Kane into unfamiliar territory. If Kane believes that Billy is trying to intimidate him, he may refuse to back down. If he believes Billy has uncovered something dangerous, however, Kane could suddenly find himself facing a much bigger problem. And that brings us to the evidence. The most intriguing part of this confrontation is not the physical clash itself. It is what Billy may have discovered before he walked into the showdown. If Billy truly possesses documents, communications, financial records, or other information that could challenge Kane's position, then the punch becomes almost secondary. The real explosion would come from what Billy puts on the table afterward. A physical confrontation can create headlines, but evidence can change the entire balance of power. Imagine Kane expecting another angry speech from Billy, only to realize that Billy has arrived prepared. That would instantly change the mood. Kane could dismiss Billy's accusations as emotional desperation, but evidence is much harder to ignore. The moment Billy reveals something concrete, Kane would have to decide whether to explain it, deny it, or find a way to challenge its authenticity. Any of those reactions could create new questions. Billy may believe the evidence proves that Kane's plans for Chancellor were never as clean as they appeared. Perhaps there is a hidden agreement, a questionable business maneuver, or a chain of decisions that could make Kane's position vulnerable. The important thing is that Billy does not need to reveal everything at once. In fact, the smartest move would be to hold something back. If Billy knows more than Kane realizes, he suddenly has leverage. That possibility makes the confrontation far more dangerous for Kane. Kane could be walking into a trap without knowing it. At first, Kane might assume Billy is simply acting out of anger. That would be understandable. Billy has a reputation for making emotional decisions, especially when family and business collide. But there is a major difference between emotional anger and calculated anger. If Billy has learned to combine his frustration with actual preparation, Kane may discover that he underestimated his opponent. Billy's greatest challenge, however, will be controlling himself. The punch could become the moment that changes everything. In the heat of the argument, Billy may lose control and strike Kane, but doing so could have consequences that extend far beyond the immediate confrontation. Even if Billy believes he has been provoked, a physical attack can give Kane an opportunity to portray Billy as unstable or reckless. Suddenly, the conversation about Chancellor could become a conversation about Billy's behavior. That would be a dangerous distraction. Billy needs to understand that Kane may not need to defeat him in the boardroom if Billy defeats himself outside it. This is where the storyline becomes especially interesting. Billy could have the stronger evidence and still lose the larger battle if he allows his temper to take control. On the other hand, if he manages to recover from the confrontation and use his evidence strategically, the punch may become only the beginning of a much larger fight. Kane also has something to prove. He cannot afford to appear weak, especially if other people inside Chancellor are watching. Any sign that he is losing control could encourage rivals to challenge him. Kane knows that corporate power depends partly on perception. If everyone believes you are firmly in control, people hesitate to oppose you. If they sense uncertainty, suddenly every ambitious player sees an opening. That means Billy's confrontation could create consequences far beyond Billy and Kane. Other members of the Abbott family could be pulled into the conflict. Jack Abbott may have to decide whether Billy's actions are justified or whether his brother has gone too far. Jill Abbott's legacy could also become part of the emotional argument, especially if Chancellor's future is being discussed in terms of family history. Devin Winters and Lily Winters could have their own opinions about the company's direction, making the corporate landscape even more complicated. And then there is the possibility that Billy's evidence does not simply expose Kane. It could expose someone else. Soap operas thrive on that kind of reversal. A character believes he has finally uncovered the truth, only to discover that the truth is much bigger than expected. Billy may think the evidence proves Kane acted alone, but what if another person has been quietly influencing the situation? What if Kane himself has been reacting to pressure from someone behind the scenes? What if the documents Billy found tell only part of the story? That is where the Chancellor War could become much more unpredictable. One thing is certain, neither Billy nor Kane can afford to underestimate the other. Billy's emotional connection to Chancellor makes him dangerous because he has something personal to fight for. Kane's willingness to think strategically makes him dangerous because he may be willing to wait for Billy to make a mistake. Their personalities are almost perfectly designed to clash. Billy charges forward when his emotions become overwhelming, while Kane can potentially use that emotional reaction against him. But there may also be a deeper similarity between them. Both men want control over their own future. Both want to prove that they belong at the center of the business world. And neither wants to be treated as someone who should simply accept another person's decision. That is why the fight over Chancellor feels so personal. For Billy, the company is tied to family. For Kane, it may represent a chance to build something according to his own ambitions. When two people attach their identities to the same prize, compromise becomes difficult. Eventually, somebody has to surrender something. The evidence could determine who has the stronger position, but it may not determine who wins the emotional battle. Billy might reveal enough information to force Kane into a defensive position. Kane could respond by questioning how Billy obtained the evidence. That creates another layer of tension. If Billy's evidence was acquired improperly, Kane could potentially challenge it. If Billy obtained it legitimately, Kane could face an even more serious problem. Either way, the confrontation puts both men under pressure. And pressure tends to reveal secrets. Billy's anger could expose just how desperate he has become to reclaim Chancellor. Kane's reaction could reveal whether he has something to hide. Even a small hesitation, an unexpected phone call, or a carefully chosen sentence could become significant later. This is why the aftermath may actually be more important than the confrontation itself. What happens after Billy punches Kane? Does Billy walk away feeling victorious, or does the reality of what he has done begin to sink in? Does Kane immediately retaliate, or does he quietly start building a case against Billy? Does someone else witness the confrontation and decide to use it as leverage? And most importantly, does Billy actually have enough evidence to change the balance of power? Those questions could drive the next chapter of the Chancellor War. Billy may believe that one explosive confrontation will finally force Kane to give Chancellor back, but corporate battles rarely end that easily. If anything, a public clash like this could make the situation more complicated. Kane may become more determined than ever to protect his position. Billy may feel that backing down would mean admitting defeat. And the people surrounding them could be forced to choose sides. That could create another dangerous fracture within the Abbott family. Jack may sympathize with Billy's frustration but question his methods. Other characters may argue that Billy should have taken the fight through legal or corporate channels instead of turning physical. Billy himself may eventually realize that the punch gave Kane an advantage he did not need to have. But there is another possibility. The punch could be exactly what Billy needed to force the truth into the open. Sometimes in Genoa City, a confrontation causes people to stop pretending. Kane might finally reveal what he truly wants. Billy might admit how far he is willing to go. And someone watching from the sidelines could recognize an opportunity that neither man sees. That is where the biggest twist could emerge. What if Chancellor is not really the ultimate prize? What if someone wants Billy and Kane focused on each other while a third party moves quietly behind them? It would fit perfectly with the kind of corporate maneuvering that has defined so many major YNR stories. While two powerful men are fighting publicly, another player can quietly reposition assets, influence shareholders, gather information, or form alliances. By the time Billy and Kane realize what happened, the company they are fighting over could be in completely different hands. Billy therefore needs to think beyond Kane. If his evidence is genuine, he needs to know exactly how to use it. If he simply throws accusations around without a strategy, he could lose the advantage. Kane, meanwhile, needs to determine what Billy knows before Billy can reveal more. That could lead to a tense race between the two men, with each trying to anticipate the other's next move. And that is where the emotional stakes become even higher. Billy is not simply fighting Kane. He is fighting the fear that Chancellor could disappear from his family's orbit forever. Kane is not simply defending a business position. He is defending his credibility and his future. Neither man wants to be remembered as the person who lost. My prediction is that Billy's evidence will create a much bigger problem for Kane than the punch itself. The physical confrontation may dominate the immediate drama, but the information Billy reveals could become the real weapon. I also think Kane will not simply accept defeat. He may temporarily step back, but that would likely be part of a larger strategy rather than surrender. And Billy should be careful, because victory in one confrontation does not mean victory in the Chancellor War. If anything, the punch could mark the beginning of the most dangerous phase yet. The real question is whether Billy can turn his anger into strategy. If he can, he could finally force Kane to answer questions that have been hanging over Chancellor. If he cannot, Kane may use Billy's temper against him and turn the entire situation around. There is also a fascinating emotional question surrounding Billy himself. How much of this fight is really about Chancellor, and how much is about Billy trying to prove that he still has a place in the legacy his family built? That distinction matters because Billy's greatest vulnerability has always been the emotional weight he carries. When he feels betrayed or pushed aside, his decisions can become unpredictable. Kane knows that. And if Kane recognizes that Billy is acting from emotion, he may deliberately push those buttons. That could be the ultimate trap. Billy believes he is confronting Kane because he has evidence. Kane may try to make Billy forget the evidence by making the confrontation personal. If Billy takes the bait, The focus shifts away from the documents and toward his behavior. Suddenly Kane becomes the calm businessman while Billy becomes the angry opponent. Billy cannot allow that to happen. He needs to make the evidence the story. He needs to make the facts impossible to ignore. And he needs to understand that the strongest move may be walking away from the next punch. Because if Billy truly has the evidence that could change Chancellor's future, he does not need to win a fistfight. He needs to win the argument that comes afterward. That is what makes this storyline so compelling. The confrontation gives us the immediate shock, but the evidence gives the story its long-term power. A punch lasts seconds. A corporate revelation can change relationships for months. Kane may recover physically, but his position could be much harder to repair if Billy's accusations are supported by facts. Likewise, Billy may feel emotionally victorious after confronting Kane, but he could face serious consequences if his actions create legal or professional problems. The Chancellor War has therefore entered a new stage. It is no longer just about who deserves control. It is about who can survive the consequences of fighting for it. Billy has drawn a line. Kane has been warned. And the evidence could be the one thing that neither man can ignore. The biggest mystery now is what Billy knows, how much of it he can prove, and who else could be implicated when the full story finally comes out. If Kane has been hiding something, the pressure may soon become unbearable. If Billy's evidence is stronger than anyone expects, Chancellor could face a dramatic shift in leadership. But if Billy's emotions cause him to make another mistake, Kane could turn the entire confrontation into a weapon against him. That is why the next move matters more than the first punch. Billy may have demanded, "Give me back Chancellor."
Mom started having these terrible headaches a few weeks ago.
It could require patience.
They got worse.
It could require strategy. And most importantly, it could require Billy to finally control the one thing Kane may be counting on him to lose, his temper. The battle is far from over, and if these accusations lead to an even bigger corporate revelation, the Chancellor War could become one of the most explosive conflicts in Genoa City. The evidence may expose a hidden deal, force unexpected alliances, or completely change how everyone views Kane's role in the company.
That Mom couldn't see.
Player has been manipulating
kick in the gut for all of us.
Billy and Kane may soon
I just put in an order for some food.
All along.
Breakfast was along.
For now, Billy has made his position unmistakably clear. He wants Chancellor back, he believes he has evidence to support his case, and he is no longer willing to quietly accept the situation. Kane, however, has every reason to fight back. That means the next confrontation could be even more consequential than the first. And this time, Billy may not be able to rely on emotion. He will have to rely on the truth. So what do you think? Does Billy actually have enough evidence
Doctor,
to
thank
force
you
Kane out of
for
Chancellor?
agreeing to come here in the last
Have
minute
hidden defense ready?
and performing this
And after Billy crosses
extraordinary
the line by throwing that punch, will his own actions eventually come back to hurt him? I believe the evidence will matter far more than the physical confrontation, and I would not be surprised if the next reveal proves that this corporate war is connected to a much larger secret. Whatever happens next, one thing is clear, Billy has stopped asking politely. The Chancellor fight is officially personal. And when the evidence finally comes into full view, someone in Genoa City could discover that winning Chancellor comes with a
Headaches and
price
blurred vision were
nobody
bad enough,
expected.
but now for her to completely
The
lose her
situation
eyesight, we
becomes
thought
even
she
more
still had
dangerous
time.
once Billy
Just-
realizes that revealing the evidence may not be enough to secure Chancellor. He could have the facts, the documents, and the emotional support of people who understand why he is fighting, yet Kane may still find a way to challenge every piece of information Billy presents. That is what makes the next stage of this conflict so fascinating. Billy may walk into the confrontation believing the truth will automatically set things right, only to discover that corporate battles are rarely decided by truth alone. They are decided by timing, alliances, confidence, and whoever can convince the right people to stand beside them when everything starts falling apart. Kane could respond by demanding to know exactly where Billy got his evidence. That question would immediately put Billy under pressure. If Billy refuses to explain, Kane could accuse him of manipulating information. If Billy explains everything, He may reveal how much he knows and give Kane valuable information about what to protect.